Now, back to more of Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. And your host, Lisa Condit.
Welcome back to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. This is Lisa Condit, and I am here with Brian Burke, our box office manager, and Brendan Donnellan, our assistant box office manager. And they're here for what Brian refers to as Ticket Talk. I know you all have frequently asked questions. I know that Brian and Brendan have many very funny stories to talk about in the box office. I'm sure some tips on how you get the best seats, of course. And all of you who send your requests for the nonprofits that you work for, you want tickets, you'd like us to donate, that is handled by the box office. So they're going to give us some little tips and facts, and we're going to celebrate that they've both been here now for over 5 years. Welcome, Brian and Brendan.
Thank you.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here.
Aw, it's always a pleasure to see you two, my little box office buddies. Brian and Brendan are really great. I have to tell everybody we get a lot of very positive feedback. Everybody really enjoys working with the box office. Your staff takes a lot of time with people. You're friendly. You take the time to talk about the membership benefits. Anything that you guys want to add to that?
No, I think you've got it so far.
You've covered pretty much everything.
Oh, that is so not true. All right, so let's go back to the first day you were both here, because we were talking about this recently. And we did this when Nell was on the radio program, and I did this when Megan was on the radio program. So think back 5 years ago. What was your first interaction with the Hanover Theatre? Brian, you first.
Hanover Theatre was not in Boston, and it was in a market that was not as high maintenance or stressful like Boston. So I wanted to basically come out to a city that didn't have a lot of competition for this business.
That's a good point. You've been here since before we opened, right? So you saw what we were doing that first year, and there were a lot of people who weren't sure that the Hanover Theatre was even going to come to be, but we pulled it together, and we had that grand opening in March. How about you, Brendan?
Well, how I came to be here, long story, but I was just excited to see something going on in downtown Worcester that would help to bring more to a downtown vibrant something down here.
Right. Because what was it like? You guys remember what it was like when we first started?
A lot has changed since we first opened, that's for sure. Everything's kind of growing, lots of great construction around the area, so it's obvious that we are doing very well and the city is expanding around us.
So, Brendan, what's some of the feedback that you've been hearing from people on the phones over the last 5 years?
Just that it's more enjoyable to come to downtown Worcester. There is something to do when they come instead of just going to the DMV,
right?
Registry. And there's more of a life downtown. It's bringing everything back.
Right, and you guys get to see that firsthand. How about you, Brian? What are some of the things that you hear from people? Because you work with a lot of our Franklin Square Society members with the VIP hotline that you run.
A lot of the feedback I get is about the quality of shows. The quality of shows have been getting better from our first year, and we are bringing everything that people could otherwise or would otherwise had to have gone to Boston to see, or Providence. We're closer, and we're getting all of the best A-list shows and acts available.
Right. Now, you both have had major changes in your lives in the last 5 years, too, so you can talk about another perspective, too, and that is you both have small children. Do you bring your children to the theater? Do they get to see some of the performances, and what do they think?
Yes, I've brought my kids to shows at the theater, only kids shows, and my son asks me if Elmo is going to be there every weekend that I have to come into work.
So he was pretty excited when Elmo did actually get to come to the theater.
For the second time again, yes, as well.
How about you, Brendan?
I've taken my son to multiple performances. My wife will take them. My son will come to anything. He loves live theater.
Isn't that great? It really is. And you raise a good point, Brian, when you said, I've only brought them to the children's shows. Because I bet you get a lot of questions about, okay, is it a good idea to bring, say, my 5-year-old to come see The Wizard of Oz back when The Wizard of Oz was here? What do you generally tell people?
Yes, we do get that question often about most of our shows, if it's kid appropriate. And, we try to explain as best as we're able to about what the show is, if there's a disclaimer in it. And we allow them to make their own decision about what's right for their kids.
Right. And I bet you get the question, too, do I need a ticket for my kid? They're going to sit in my lap. What do you tell them?
Typically, for most shows that are kid oriented, they're allowed to bring in a lap child with that is free, but they have to obtain a free lap ticket from us. And the typical age is 1 and under.
Right. So, anything you want to add to that, Brendan?
No, everybody knows the patience level of their child.
Right.
And whether or not they're going to be entertained and can last through a live performance that may go on for 2.5 hours. Most kids' attention spans last 30 minutes.
Right.
So.
And, the thing that people sometimes don't think about, too, is you have to think about your child's maturity level as far as when you come to a kid show and they see the characters dressed up in costume. It's kind of like when you go to Disney or Epcot and you see the characters. Some children love that, and some don't want the hug from Mickey.
No, my daughter freaked out during Sesame Street, and I had to hold her in my lap in the box office while my wife and son watched the show.
Well, so your daughter is obviously younger than your son. So just keep that in mind, people, when you're planning ahead. It's a really fun day for the family now that we have skating on the oval. I will say the skating is very fun. I brought my daughter. We have a good time at the Hanover Theatre, and we have a great time with the box office. The box office is really helpful. Anything else that you want to share with people? Anything about your memories, funny experience that you can share on the air that's, G-rated, people?
Yeah, nothing that we can share. No, what happens in the box office stays in the box office.
Oh, but that's good to know because that means that all of your information is kept safe and sound. We never share or sell our list with anybody ever. If people are asking you for your email address, it's just so that you can get that weekly email from us. We're not going to sell it to anybody, and we're not going to pester you with emails either. Even though it might seem like every Friday is a lot, it's only once a week that the marketing department, Laurie and I, send that email out. So,
well, also we use that to send show reminders. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you'll buy your tickets 6-7 months in advance and forget which weekend or when your show is. That look for those. Those will come to you just prior to the performance.
Right. Now, I bet you also get the question a lot of times, how can I get the best seats? How can I get great seats to B.B. King? Do people call you up after it's gone on sale to the public, say, and wonder, why can't I get in the front row?
The best way is if you do become a member at the basic level. It's a very simple process. It's very inexpensive and tax deductible, and that gets you the access for the pre-sale for all the best shows at the theater to get the seats right away before they go on sale to the public.
And we provide that access really through that weekly email. That's how we communicate with people that a new show has come to the theater and it's on sale to members. So we're not trying to stalk you with your email addresses. We're just trying to communicate with you. So Brian and Brendan, I appreciate you coming in and spending time with us. We'll see you back at the theater. We'll see everybody at the theater. And we hope to have you on again very soon. Anything you want to say to people before we leave?
Have a good cup of coffee.
How about you, Brendan?
No. Thanks, Lisa. It's been fun.
All right. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you soon.